As we do on every Tuesday, we have Top 10 Tuesday, where I rank the best teams in the NFL after week 9. Okay, coming up here in about 20 minutes, by the way, Zach Hicks of Locked On Colts. He's going to join me to talk about the Colts game from Sunday night. Number 10 on the list, I got to put the Eagles in here, and I don't like doing it. I don't, because I don't trust Nick Sirianni at all. Okay, no faith whatsoever in Nick Sirianni. That being said, like Jalen Hurts is playing really well right now. They've scored 28 or more in 3 straight games. Were those against bad teams? Yes, but 28 points is still a lot in the NFL. They're 6-2. It's kind of hard to ignore as well. This defense is turning into one of the best units in the NFL. Okay, they're 3rd in yards per game allowed, and they're giving up less than 20 points a game. I mean, like I can't ignore that. You know, like you're 6-2, you're putting up those numbers on defense. You've won 4 straight games with the defense playing like that. They appear to have gotten better. A.J. Brown coming back from injury takes this offense to a whole other level. Like that's been evidence. Saquon Barkley would likely be the offensive player of the year if it wasn't for Derrick Henry, who's on 2,000-yard watch. More on him later, right? They've got just a ton of talent, and Nick Sirianni has found a way to stay out of the way so far. So I've got the Philadelphia Eagles at number 10. Number 9, I've got the Houston Texans. They look average without Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs. The offensive line can't block. When you can't pass block and you don't have your 2 best receivers, I don't care who your quarterback is, like you're going to struggle to score points. I remember watching Patrick Mahomes in that Super Bowl a few years ago against the Buccaneers, where like all of his offensive linemen got hurt, and it didn't matter that he had Travis Kelce and some other good players. He didn't have any time to throw the ball. He was just running for his life. And that's currently where the Houston Texans are at. Like CJ Stroud just kind of runs for his life all game, and that's it. Thankfully for Houston, like they have a good defense. They're 2nd in yards per game allowed. They're only allowing 22 points a game. Like even without Diggs and Collins, I trust Stroud and what has been a consistent rushing attack to score more than 22 points a game. You know, and at some point, Nico Collins is going to come back. They'll be better when that happens, but as long as he's out, they can lose to anybody. Like the New York Jets, for example, and they're terrible. So they're going to have to win with defense and a run game until Nico Collins comes back, and they can do that. Like they're more than capable of doing that. Number 8, I've got the team that beat the Colts on Sunday night, the Minnesota Vikings. I want to put them higher because the Minnesota Vikings are clearly a very complete team, but I can't because Sam Darnold turns the football over way too much. He's thrown at least 1 interception in 4 of his last 5 games. In those 5 games, he's given the football away 8 times. Okay, that's what Joe Flacco did at the end of last year with the Browns. So, you know, not a fan of that, right? It's hard to win games that way, but Vikings have just kind of found a way to do it. Part of that's been the fact that their defense has forced a ton of turnovers. They lead the league in takeaways per game at over 2. Like that's just an incredible rate of turnovers forced, and that's ultimately why they're winning games. Okay, they also generate a ton of pressure on the quarterback. They generate a lot of just negative plays with their defense, both in the run and pass game. That helps mask the struggles that they've had on the back end. Once again, the 30th ranked pass defense entering that game against the Colts, and the Colts only threw for 179 yards. So, yeah, Colts aren't very good. That's okay. But if this defense for the Vikings continues to play that well and Sam Darnold can just stop giving the ball to the other team, then Minnesota can beat anybody. Number 7, the Los Angeles Rams. Okay. When they're healthy, the Rams are as good as anybody. They've won 3 in a row. They're finally healthy. Cooper Kupp, still one of the best receivers in the league. Puka Nacua is one of the best young receivers in the league. He got tossed against Seattle. Is one of the softest ejections I've ever seen. He threw they said he threw a punch. I thought he just went for like a face shove. But anyway, he got tossed. Didn't matter. They still beat Seattle on the road in Seattle, which is a tough place to go play. This defense has gotten better throughout the year. They have a lot of new and young players. You know, as the year has progressed, they've gotten better on that side of the ball. Rookie Jared Verse is probably going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. He's been good for them. They're 11th in sacks per game. Like, that's a good pass rush. They're 11th in yards per carry allowed. So They stop the run. They get after the passer. Like I said, like they've just gotten better as the years gone on. And that is, like when we talk about the Colts, I think that's one of the frustrating things about watching the Colts play. It doesn't feel like they've gotten any better. Like, the defense has, but like offensively, like they haven't gotten any better. And yeah, the best coaches in the NFL, you'll notice their teams improve as the year goes on. And we're seeing that with the Los Angeles Rams. That defense has improved a lot from week one. And Matthew Stafford always gives you a chance. That guy's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Number 6, I've got the Green Bay Packers. Okay, they got beat badly by the Lions in the rain on their own field. Packers they're still a good team. Jordan Love's dealing with a groin injury, so he's still a little banged up, right? They've had some defensive success this year, but a lot of that has been because they forced turnovers. They didn't do that on Sunday, and they gave up 24. Okay, they're tied with the Vikings in takeaways per game at over 2 a game, but like that's not their biggest issue. Their biggest issue is that Jordan Love isn't only hurt, but that he likes to throw interceptions. He's thrown 10 interceptions in 7 games this year. That's not good. Okay. And I know there's some people out there that are going to justify with, but he's thrown 15 touchdowns. A 15 to 10 touchdown to interception ratio is not good. That's 1.5. That's bad. There's just no other way to really put it. And until that gets fixed, until the Packers quit giving the ball to the other team, like it's hard to rank them higher than 6th. And it's kind of frustrating because when you watch Green Bay play, like they are as talented as anybody. They're as fun a team to watch as anybody. And their ceiling is good enough to beat anyone. But they'll only reach that point if Jordan Love can quit turning the football over. He's got a lot of gunslinger in him. I mean, he's just letting it rip. There's not a window that guy doesn't think that he can force the ball through. And like I said, fun to watch. Doesn't always lead to wins, though, especially when you're playing teams like the Lions, one of the better teams in the NFL. Number 5, I have the Commanders. I think the Commanders are better than Green Bay. Simply because the Commanders don't turn the ball over. They have the least amount of giveaways in the NFL this year. They're only averaging 0.3 a game. They just don't turn the ball over. And that's a large part of why they've been so good this year. They just score a ton of points. They can run the ball. They're averaging 5 yards a carry. Like that's 5th in the NFL. They can throw the ball. They're 10th in passing yards per game. And when you do those two things that well and you don't turn the ball over, you're going to score a lot of points. And that's exactly what the Washington Commanders have done. They're 4th in the NFL in points per game. Because they just can't be stopped and they don't stop themselves. Okay. And when you can run the ball, throw the ball, and you don't turn it over, you're going to score a lot of points, and you don't have to ask your defense to be great, right? Like with Green Bay, their defense has to be great for them to win games because when you turn the ball over, most of the time, not all the time, you're giving your opponent probably good field position. It's like the Commanders never have to defend a short field because Jaden Daniels and the rest of that Commanders offense have done a good job of taking care of the football, and that makes things easier on a average at best defense. Okay, so the Commanders at 5. Once again, this is Top 10 Tuesday, the 10 best teams in the NFL after week 9. And the final 4 is incredibly easy to know. I think everyone's top 4 teams are the exact same, right? The order on them probably a little bit different. I have the Ravens at 4. This is the second best offense in the NFL behind the Lions. I know they're awesome. I know that Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry have been just this match made in heaven. They're running the football all over the place. Lamar Jackson's running around finding Zay Flowers. They traded for another receiver. I mean, like there's a lot to like with the Baltimore Ravens. They may have already made another trade today because the trade deadline ends today at 4 o'clock. Okay, so yeah, anyway. But I don't trust the Ravens, which probably doesn't make sense given everything I just said about Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, but I don't trust them. Like 2 of their losses are just weird. Like they lost to the Raiders who were bad and they lost to the Browns who were worse. Maybe, I don't know. They have the worst pass defense in the NFL, and it's hard to trust teams that don't stop the passing game, right? Like it's the NFL, it's a passing league. It's like, I get that offense is so incredibly electric that it's easy to ignore the flaws that they have, but the flaws that they have on defense are huge. Okay. And sure, like the offense can cover up some of those flaws, but those defensive flaws that the Ravens have are pretty big. Like they can't cover me, they can't cover anybody. Right. And when you're probably going to play against Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes, maybe both in the playoffs, that's just not a comforting thing when your pass defense has been as bad as the Ravens has been this year, no matter how good your offense is. Because when you're playing the Bills or the Chiefs or the Lions potentially in the Super Bowl, like those are three great offenses, and you're going to have to figure out a way to get stops. And I'm just not convinced that the Ravens can really do it. So number 3 on the list, the Buffalo Bills. Pull off a gutsy win against the Dolphins on Sunday. No Amari Cooper, Josh Allen playing the best football of his career. This version of Josh Allen can beat anyone, including Patrick Mahomes. They play the Chiefs in 2 weeks. Can't wait for that game. Okay, their defense wasn't great on Sunday playing against the Dolphins, but it's Tua in the Dolphins, so I'm going to give them a little leeway there. But that defense is still way better than the Ravens. I mean, they're 15th in passing yards allowed per game, but they're 26th in yards per carry, right? So that's kind of the weakness with Buffalo. But once Milano comes back, I think a large part of that run defense issue will be fixed. Okay, Amari Cooper makes this team better. He didn't play on Sunday, and the Bills still scored 30. Okay, like they're getting better. Keon Coleman's improving as the year goes on. Khalil Shakir's having a good year. Okay, Josh Allen, once again, playing the best football of his career, and this defense just continues to do enough. And I know that the Ravens beat the Bills badly earlier in the year, right? 35-10. Everyone saw it. I think that was a Sunday night game, so everyone was a witness to what happened. But I think the Bills are simply more consistent on defense. Okay, and look, offense wins games, defense wins titles. That's just the way that it is. So I like the consistency of the Bills defense a little bit more. They've gotten better since then, right? They've brought in Amari Cooper. He makes that offense even better. I also simply think that Josh Allen's a better quarterback than Lamar Jackson. So that's why I've got the Bills at 3 in front of the Ravens. Number 2, I've got the Lions, best offense in the NFL. Okay, they just do whatever they want. When Bill freaking Belichick, one of the smartest NFL coaches ever, goes on national TV and is like, yeah, I don't know what I would do. That's all I need to hear, right? So on their 6-game winning streak, they've scored 28 touchdowns, and Jared Goff only has thrown 24 incompletions. I mean, Jared Goff's just gone to a completely different level, okay? And a large part of that is because the Lions run the ball so well. But as great as Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson have been, Jared Goff is the MVP of the league so far. I mean, he's completing like 75% of his passes. He's commanding the best team in the NFC's offense. He's commanding the best offense in the NFL. Like the Lions just can't be stopped. Like Goff has been so incredibly efficient. And one of the questions about them has been, can they win on the road? Can they win outdoors? Are they just a dome team? The answer is no. They just won on the road in the rain. And they're clearly more than just a dome team because they're incredibly physical. Okay, their defense held the Packers to only 14 points. They can run the ball whenever they want to because they have the best offensive line in the NFL. They added a pass rusher today. They gave up a second-round pick for Zadarius Smith, the guy who's been in the league for a bit. Got him from the Browns. That's only going to make them better. They're just complete on both sides of the football. They're physical, and I don't know how you stop that Detroit Lions offense. And then number 1, pretty easy, the Chiefs. They're 8-0. It's not as impressive. Like their 8-0 is not as impressive as the Lions 7-1. It's not, but winning is a skill. And the Chiefs clearly have that skill. Their defense is amongst the best in the NFL. Wasn't great last night, but I think we've seen enough from that Chiefs defense to know that like they're going to be okay. Right? And then it was so weird watching Mahomes last night. I didn't feel like he played very well. And then I looked at the box score after the game and I was like, oh, he was 33 of 44 for 291 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no picks. Like, if that's the guy that the Chiefs get the rest of the way, like peak Mahomes, where he's making good decisions and he's not turning the football over because that was an issue to start the year, then good luck beating him. Good luck. Like, this is the best team in the NFL. I don't care what the Lions have done. I don't care what the Ravens have done. I don't care what the Bills have done. I will not consider any of them better than Kansas City until either A, someone important for the Chiefs gets hurt, or B, someone beats them. It hasn't happened. They've won like 17 games in a row dating back to last year. Something just absolutely absurd like that. All right, like there's no beating this team. There just isn't. Like I don't know how you do it. You get lucky, right? You hope that Mahomes throws 3 picks and that whoever your starting quarterback is has a great game. Like that's really the only formula. It's not even based off of what the opposition does. It's more about what the Chiefs do, and they're not going to beat themselves. That has been evident.